Welcome to the Own Your Life podcast, where our goal is to help bring hope, healing, and peace by sharing our experiences and inspiring you to own your life.
Welcome back to the Own Your Life podcast. Today is episode number 17, and we are starting off with faith over fear. And the reason why we felt like this is a big topic is because of everything going on in the world right now with coronavirus, with the election, with people buying up a bunch of guns and ammo and everything else going on right now in the world. And we just felt like it was kind of time to talk a little bit about how we're dealing with all this, going through this situation. And I want to start off with an acronym of FEAR, and it's false evidence appearing real. And we feel like right now with, the media, a lot of that stuff is false right now. A lot of it is fake news. A lot of it is going on right now. And we have kind of both parties saying some different things that are lies or anything like that that's going on. And we just felt like there's a lot of false evidence appearing real right now. And that's what they're pushing, if we feel like right now, is a bunch of fear. And we have to lean on our faith more right now. So what we've been doing is, we've been going back to reading our Bible a little bit more and looking into that and finding answers in there, going back to faith-based books and reading a little bit about how we can get better and building our faith more. And we went to no social media for some days. And we've been really digging into a lot of different podcasts and, listen to that stuff so we can bring you guys more hope, healing, and peace, because we have to grow so we can continue to bring you guys hope, healing, and peace in your life, because that's what our whole goal is. And that's what this whole podcast stands for. And we've really felt like just doing those things right now have been a huge win for us, and we wanted to share those with you. And I've also been kind of listening to spa music to calm myself down a little bit more in certain situations that I found myself in. And we just don't want anybody to be paralyzed by the fear going on right now. And I know that Ashley has a lot of different stuff she wants to share with you, and I got a lot of different stuff I want to share with you on this topic. And I'm going to kick it over to her for a second and let her talk for a second.
Awesome. Yeah, one thing I want to touch on real quick is, so you made a great point that, the news, that there's a lot of fake news out there, and it's hard to decide like what is real, what is not real. And what you have to break down is that the media is a business. News channels are a business. So in order for them to work, they have to have people watch them. They have to get that, because that makes them more money when they can get sponsorships and whatnot to do advertisements if they have so many viewers. And to get more viewers, they are promoting fear, and the fear is drawing people in. And unfortunately, fear can be really addictive, and it gets people to keep watching, clip after clip after clip. If they're watching online or if they're watching on their TV, they just leave it on all day. And that's how the media is thriving. And I'm talking about all channels. I'm not, biased towards one or another. All of them are using fear to get you hooked in, because they know that works and they know that you're going to watch it. And that's how they run their business, because they are a business. They do not care about you. They do not care about your feelings. They don't care about giving you accurate news. They care about getting you hooked on whatever story they can promote to get you to come back, because that makes them money. So when you realize that, it's kind of, at least for me, it's easier just to be like, oh, well, why would I listen to this? These people don't care about me. They don't know my story. They don't know my life. They don't know my interests. Like, listening to them as a primary source is not a wise idea, in my opinion. And I feel like that's a main thing, is finding out what is your source. Like, what are you going to in this time? What is taking up most of your time? And I know we've also talked about this a lot. Even checking the screen time on your phone, you can see, how much time you're spending on social media, or maybe on podcasts, or just surfing the web, whatever you're doing, or maybe on gaming apps, or whatever you're doing. You can see where your time is being spent. And it might be eye-opening to you if you've never looked at that before. And I feel like it is easy to turn things off. You can put filters, like we've said before, you can put filters on your phone to turn things off at certain times, or once you've looked at it for a certain amount of time, it will automatically shut off. I've done this recently with Facebook. I will not spend a certain amount of time. And if I do, it alerts me like, hey, you reached your limit. So either you can ignore the limit or you can, abide by that and just get off that app. And I think that that's been very helpful. And just to know, like I said before, they do not have your best interest in mind. And I feel like there are a lot of other healthy sources out there to deal with fear and really to reframe it. And I feel like faith is, at least for us, that's what's helped us a lot get through fearful times or uncertain times, especially like this. And it's not just like saying, oh, well, faith's going to take care of everything. But it's also having wisdom with that. Wisdom to not live in fear, but to prepare yourself, because being prepared is not living out of fear. Now, if you're overly prepared, like earlier with the pandemic, where people bought out toilet paper like it was, going out of style, that was fear. That was a fear-based thing. But I know for us, we actually buy our toilet paper in bulk online, which is great, because when that all happened, I had plenty. Like I didn't have to worry about that at all. So it was in that preparation, though, that we had wisdom and we had faith at the same time. We didn't have to worry about being fearful, and we didn't live out of fear. We didn't live out of a scarcity mindset. I feel like a lot of us right now are living out of a scarcity mindset. And I've caught myself. I've definitely caught myself thinking like, oh my gosh, what if this runs out or whatever? What are we going to do? And I've had to flip that and like, no. It's always worked out for us. Like God has always provided for us. That's just our belief system. And we've never really run into a terrible time like that. And if any of you guys have out there, I'm not trying to downplay your situation at all. And that's awful if you've had to go through that. But the thing is, you're still here. So I feel like the main thing that we can do is to feed off of the faith of whatever faith you are, to put that into practice, whether it's like Matt said, maybe reading your Bible more, or it's listening to the Bible app. If you're not a reader, you can have it audibly, spoken to you. Or are you listening to, comforting music like spa music or worship music or something that's low key, not, something screaming in your ear? Or are you listening to positive podcasts, or are you listening to more of a gossipy kind of like reality TV type thing? So it's really, what is your attention focusing on? Because I feel like with how much uncertainty we've had in this season, it's been very, very easy to fall into fear, because a lot of people around us have been living out of fear. So it is easy to get sucked into it. Just like we've said before, negativity spreads way faster than positivity does. So it's very easy to get sucked into that and can be really, really damaging and put you in fear, which can be a paralyzing state for some people. So it's just important to recognize, am I in a state of paralyzing fear, or am I acting out of wisdom? Am I acting out of faith? Those are just things you need to ask yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things within what you said there. That was a lot. I recommend everybody go back and replay the last couple minutes there. She dropped a lot of good information in there with everything she just talked about. I mean, there's so many different things of wisdom in that. And I think that a lot of times is that people undervalue wisdom a lot in their life. There should be some people that are in your life that you should be able to lean on for some wisdom or some clarity in certain situations that you're going through. And the reason why I say wisdom is because, for instance, you aren't going to just basically live in la la land and pretend like nothing's going on, right? You can't live in a land where, for instance, if you live in a different type of neighborhood where you have to protect yourself, you're not going to walk into that and just have no protection for yourself. You're not going to walk into that neighborhood and not have no protection. That doesn't make any sense. That's just wisdom. You're not acting out of fear. That's just wisdom. That's just knowing that you're going to have to protect yourself. Or if you're going to step in a boxing rink with Mike Tyson, obviously you're going to go in there and you're going to be a little bit more prepared. You're going to be a little shape, versus going in there and fighting a 10-year-old. There's a huge difference there. There's a huge difference in level of being prepared. So with that comes wisdom as well. So make sure that you are prepared for this season, and make sure that you go into it with your eyes open, that you're not just thinking everything is going to be, just great, because that's not going to happen. So you're going to have to come to the table with some wisdom from your past experiences as well, and know that you're going to have to come to the table with that. And, I think that fear has two meanings. And what I mean by that is, I know that I gave you the acronym of fear at the beginning, but fear does have two meanings. So you can forget everything and run. That's one way of looking at fear, or you can face everything and rise. And I think that a lot of times is that, especially in my life, I've done both. And you can always go back and you can look at your life and you can look at the fear-based decisions that you have made. And I guarantee you've done both at some season in your life. And that's okay. But which one are you going to choose in this season of your life? And I think that's the biggest question you need to ask is, why are you here and what decision are you going to make? Because all that does come into play, and that is going to come into play either in this season or the next season. And it's going to keep recurring in your life if you don't address it. And I think that was one thing that I had to have clarity on in my life. And that happened a few years ago, that I had to face a few things in my life. I had to face myself first, and then I had to find out why I was here and who I was meant to impact and what it looked like and how I was going to apply certain things. And it doesn't mean you're going to have all those answers right away, because you won't. I can guarantee you that. You'll have to dig into a lot of different books. You're going to have to dig into a lot of different podcasts. You're going to have to dig into a lot of different areas in your life and really address some things that you didn't want to address before. And that's okay, but understand it's going to take time to uncover those things in your life to make the decisions you need to make today. And that's why I'm talking about this, is because I had to go back to faith, because I didn't have a whole lot of faith for a long period of time in my life, and that's okay. But the thing is that I had to come back to that and realize that was my base, that was my values. And I had to start living based off the true values that I had, not the false values that I had for a long period of time.
Yeah, that's great. And I feel like that goes with the next point I've got here is really being present in the moment and not focusing. I know Matt just talked about, reflecting on the past and whatnot, but also not focusing too much on the future, which I know we've said this multiple times, because Matt and I are both very futuristic, that we can get so caught up in the future planning and thinking about the future that we forget about the present and what's going on right in front of us. And this is definitely one of those times to have faith and be present in the moment, because fear can rob your future from you, because you could be so worried about the future and fearing, oh my gosh, what's going to happen this day or that day or next week or next month, or I don't know how we're going to make this work. And just worrying so much about the future that can also be very paralyzing. And it's not productive at all, because whatever you're worrying about hasn't happened yet, if it even is going to happen. And it's wasting your mental energy and stressing you out even more, when you can be focused on the present and what is happening right now. What's happening today? How can I live in faith today? And then tomorrow, I'll worry about tomorrow when I come to tomorrow. I don't need to worry about tomorrow right now, because today is what is happening at the current moment. So I feel like, this is a huge message for myself, because I can definitely get sucked into the future, and it's robbing my present from me. And I just feel like it's really important that we stay present focused, and really asking yourself, are you living right now out of fear, or are you living out of faith? And I know we've asked this, before, and just to stress that again, really evaluate, how you're living your life every single day. And if you have kids, how are they seeing you live out every single day? Because they are watching you. You are their role model, whether you know it or not, or like it or not. They are watching everything you do, whether you think so or not, or maybe you think they don't listen to you. We definitely went through a period like that with Cameron. We thought he wasn't listening to us at all, but he heard everything that we said and was able to tell us about it at a later date, which was kind of scary, that your kids are watching you. So what moves are you making right now? What things are you doing to show your family, you are going to live out of faith, and you are not going to let fear paralyze you?
Yeah. And I can guarantee that everybody's listening at all the times, and everybody can kind of look back at what you've said before or anything like that and recite it back to you on whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. It happened to me a few times, and it doesn't feel good sometimes. Other times it feels amazing. It just depends on what you said at that moment, and that's okay. And we're all growing in those areas. And I think that sometimes we're our own harshest critic, and we really need to look at the fact that we impact people every day, whether it's positive or negative. It's your choice when you wake up in the morning of how you impact somebody. If you feel like you're always coming at certain people and always having a certain narrative, then they're going to start thinking that same narrative about you too. So, and I think that, if you, for instance, if you always walk into work and you're like, it's always a bad day and it's always raining outside and the sky's gray and sky's falling and everything else, and that's how everybody looks at you, and they start programming that into their brain, and that's how they view you. So, I mean, and you're going to have to change that narrative. But at the same time, if you come in, you're positive and you positively impact somebody every single day, and they're going to know when you have an off day too. And that's okay, because that's the whole point though, is that they're like, man, you're kind of different today. You're not as happy as you usually are. You're not, doing the same stuff you usually do. And that's okay too. But know that those have an impact on certain people, and, it has an impact on you as well, because it's all on how you view the world and what you look like, what you look like every day. And had a quote from Maxwell here, is that the greatest mistake we make is living in constant fear that we'll only make one. And I think that is a powerful quote from Maxwell, and we always kind of drop a Maxwell quote in here, I feel like, every time. And he's one of our favorite authors that we have, and one of our favorite podcasts we listen to, and we talk about that a lot as well. But just know that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail, and it's okay to kind of move forward from that. But it's another thing to live in the fear based off the mistake you might make that will never happen. We've heard the quote made a ton of times, is that 95% of the things that we fear will never ever happen. I have a strong fear of spiders, and Ashley kind of laughs at me. I'm not like gonna run away or anything like that, but it's I'm not a huge fan. But at the same time, is that we live in North Carolina, I'm not gonna get attacked by some tarantula or something like that. There's none of them around here. So, I mean, if I'm worried about tarantulas 24/7, that's an unrealistic fear. But at the same time, is that I know I don't like spiders, but that's the whole point of this, is that we just have to be able to assess where we're at and figure out what's really holding us back.
Yeah, 100%. And I have a huge fear of snakes, so I'm okay. Give me a spider any day. Snakes, I'm out. I'll run. I'm gone. So a huge thing that actually has helped me throughout the season is, yes, I am well aware that coronavirus is a serious disease. Most of the people that get it do not die, especially if they're younger. And even at the beginning, before we knew as much as we know now, because I know it's been kind of an unraveling process, obviously in, February and March, we didn't know what we know now. And ever since the beginning, though, I just feel like I made it a choice in my mind that I'm going to live out of faith. I am not going to live in fear. Yes, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to. You got to wear the mask, whatever. That's fine. I'll do it to appease the owners. I don't have much belief in that. Don't send me mean messages. That's just my beliefs. I do feel like living out of faith is also huge, because you can affect your body just with your mind. You can affect your body of how you're thinking. So if you're thinking negative thoughts all the time, you can actually make yourself sick. You can think yourself to sickness. And I chose in the very beginning of the season to live out of faith and to live out of positive thinking. And that even if I did get COVID, that I would not, I wouldn't suffer. I wouldn't die from it. I didn't get it. Knock on wood. I haven't gotten it. And I pray I don't get it, but I know people that have gotten it, and I know people that have gotten better from it. However, I am choosing, for me, and I know Matt is too, to live out of faith, that we still have to live our lives. We are not just going to become a recluse and never leave our house, until 2022, when we think it's okay to go out. And I know, you know, some of you may have differing opinions, and I totally respect that. I just want to say for us, I have lived out of faith the whole time. I've been outside of my house every single day since COVID started. I have been smart about it, washed my hands, the sanitizer, all of that stuff, because I have chosen to live out of faith and to continue living my life and not stopping progress on what I'm, you know, wanting to accomplish, just because of that. And I know a lot of things have shifted because none of us expected this year to be how it is. But it's really choosing the mindset. What are you going to live out of? And another important thing, when I have been on social media, it is easy. It's easy to fall into the fear that you see out there, or to get angry, you know, with other people and start arguing with them over their post or your post or whatever. And there've been many times that I've wanted to do that. However, I felt that God spoke to me, be a light. Be a light in the darkness. There's a lot of dark right now, and you need to be the light. And that has stopped me from posting a lot of silly stuff, because in the end, when I think about it, it's not going to benefit anybody. If I post whatever I was going to post, it would have maybe made me feel good in the moment, but it would have, it definitely wouldn't have changed anybody's mind. However, whoever, you know, thought about which way they thought about whatever issue it was. And it really kind of just makes you look like a jerk in the end. So I really thought through all of that, and then just decided not to post anything. And I'm happy about that, because now I'm not regretting anything. I didn't, you know, make somebody upset. Not that it's about, you know, making somebody feel a certain way, but I didn't start unnecessary conflict just because I was, you know, feeling something in the moment. And I just, you know, let it pass. And, you know, that's when it's just replaying in my mind, like, be a light in the darkness, post something positive. If you're going to post anything, post something positive. People need positive right now. We need to be uplifted. We don't need to bring each other down with negativity and arguing and yelling about one side or the other. I just feel like if we can all lift each other up and be positive and bring us together more, that is going to help everybody live more out of faith than out of fear in the end.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things within that you could talk about. You know, I just always think about all the different stuff that, you know, we've read, and generally anything that you're going, unless it's a face-to-face conversation, and even then it's very, very hard to change somebody's opinion of something. Even if it's a face-to-face conversation, the more facts sometimes you bring to certain scenarios, the less the people believe after hearing the facts, because they've already in their brain made the decision, and it's hard to change that decision before they can come to the conclusion themselves. So I think that if you can understand that they have to come through that, and you have to come to it at a different way of asking a bunch of questions for them to self-discover the answer if they are going to change their minds. And for that happening on social media is a shade under never happen. And we both know that. And, you know, so it's just one of those things where we're like, that's kind of something we're not even going to talk about. But you know, instead of worrying, this is something that I wrote down here, and why I was actually kind of thinking about what we're going to do for this podcast is that it fits in perfectly with this concept. Is Dale Carnegie had a quote, and it said, instead of worrying about what people say of you, why not spend time trying to accomplish something they will admire you for? And that's what we want to do. Is we want to be a light to the world. We want to bring hope, healing, and peace for everybody. And that's why we have this podcast. And that's why we feel like we need to impact the people we need to do, because we want people to admire us for what we're bringing to the table right now, as far as hope, healing, and peace, and being a light in the dark, because we feel like this year's been a dark season for a lot of people and a lot of the world. And we wanted to bring this information to you guys so you guys can have some weapons in your tool belt, if you will, to kind of fight this fear right now, and bring a little bit of faith to your life, and kind of have a way to combat it, because we feel like a lot of times people just need the tools, you know, to actually help themselves and help other people in their life, because we know if we can impact one circle, then that's worth every time that we actually spend here on this podcast. Yeah.
And just to wrap up, you know, we love you all. Thank you so much for your support and for listening. And I love what you said earlier, Matt, of the acronym for fear. One of them that you said, face everything and rise. And I think that's the take home message is have faith over fear, face everything and rise, and choose to have wisdom, but don't panic and be a light in the darkness. So we hope this was helpful for you. We love you guys. Thank you again for all your support. Please like this, share it, rate and review us, and subscribe. And remember, own your life because your life is your responsibility. Thank you all for listening. If this added value to you, please click subscribe and rate and review us. You can also find us at Own Your Life Co. on Instagram and Facebook and ownyourlifeco.com. And as always, own your life because your life is your responsibility.